It didn't take much more than a bottle and 2 chairs to make a speakeasy. This is what Daniel Okrent said in his book, Last Call, The Rise and Fall of Prohibition. Today, join us for some stories. Get your own bottle, glass, or mug, and relax. This is Speak Easily, and I'm your host, Krista Stauffer.
To be fair, you do feed him, care for him.
It's true.
So he's just trying to say
His favorite place is to lay like right on my boob, and Brendan's like, I mean, I don't blame him. That's
he's a boy cat, and that's okay.
That's true.
Yeah.
I drew the line at him watching me in the shower. I'm like, we're done.
That's weird.
We don't
Do they
need
do
this.
that?
So we have like the shower curtain liner that's clear, and then like the fancy shower curtain.
Yeah.
He'll crawl in between the two, and he just sits there. And
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
like, nope,
No.
dude, this not. I'm not.
No.
There was one time he tried to like lean on the shower curtain and fell in. I'm like, see,
That's what you get.
that's what happens.
Oh no. I shut the door. I'm a shut the door person.
I'm not, but I am now.
Well, if you've got a cat creeping on your
I know.
shower, that's...
I think he's reincarnated a pervert.
Oh.
Probably.
I mean, cats do have 9 lives. I guess that's one of them. Let's see. I just finished the saint life. It's time for pervert.
All right, let's
life.
do perv.
Let's do
We haven't done perv yet.
What shall we do? Ooh, shower time.
Well, hello. I'm just the cat.
Oh gosh. Like even when the kids were really, really little and I'd have to put them like in a seated position or something in the bathroom, it was sort of like,
Are you watching?
I like my privacy. I don't know. We've always been kind of a modest,
Yeah.
shut the door kind of family. So yeah, it's weird.
I've lived alone up in, obviously not my childhood, but I lived alone forever. So I'm just used to never closing doors and just whatever.
That makes sense.
So I don't have
I had a conversation with this about going to the bathroom. I lock the door all the time.
Really?
Doesn't matter if I'm the only one. I think I have a fear of dying on the toilet. Of like somebody coming in and I'm doing my biz and I don't want that.
No, that would be an awful place. But if you just like have a massive heart attack or something on the toilet, they're not gonna be able to get to you. The door's locked.
Well, but I'd be dead.
It's true.
They'd be like, oh, she at least had some consideration of privacy before she died.
I mean,
It's an irrational fear. Even when I'm here,
yeah.
I will lock the front door. I will lock the bathroom door.
Really?
Yes. I don't know why I'm so scared of...
I just bathroom door open. I don't care.
I know. It's so funny about like different habits of people in public bathrooms.
Oh yeah.
Like...
obviously there I will close and lock the door.
Well, yeah. I'd be like, what's up,
Hey,
Frank?
everybody.
Hello. Just
Taking
doing
a dump.
number two today. Yeah,
Pooping
number
over
two.
here.
It's something that everybody does. And yet
Yeah.
people are so weird about it.
I know.
Like, I can't poop in public. Like,
Oh,
literally
no.
everybody
I have no
poops.
issue pooping in public.
I really don't either.
You gotta go. You gotta go.
You gotta go. What I don't like is the warm toilet seat.
Oh,
After
that
someone's
is a
gone.
little weird. Yeah, it's a little weird.
You're like, oh, someone was here for a while.
I know if I'm on a public toilet, other butts have been there. I'm
Many
well
other
aware of
butts.
that.
Yep.
I just don't want to be reminded.
That's true.
It's like, oh, somebody was just here.
Yeah. It's always fascinating, too, to find out who is a bathroom talker and who's not.
Oh.
Like if you're talking to somebody, and I work at the Ohio Theater, so there's a lot of us that are using the restrooms at the same time, and who will continue the conversation
Yeah.
once you're both seated.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't start the
I would say
conversation.
I won't start, but if somebody's talking to me, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we're doing this.
We'll continue on.
It's not, yeah. And then where do you go in the stall? Like if there's 3 stalls, do you go keep one separate?
Oh, there's always a
middle?
one stall buffer.
I
Gotta
kind of
have
feel
a
like that
buffer.
too.
Unless there's just no choice.
No choice.
But if there's like 3 stalls and somebody's on the one on the end, you use the other end. Or you
It
always
just
have
feels right. And I know the guys have talked about the urinal courtesy.
Oh yeah,
Not that I know.
you gotta have at least one urinal buffer.
Yes. And I'm thankful to have shut doors. Again, I need it locked. I don't want to die in there. Now, it'd be easier to get me out under the door.
That's true.
When the heart attack.
Pull you out by your
Unless I've
feet.
locked the initial door, and then we're just screwed.
Then you're screwed.
Totally
You have to
screwed.
break the door down.
Yeah, there's definitely urinal etiquette.
You
I
have
have no
to-
doubt.
Yeah. no,
Like if there's
Absolutely.
a line of them, you go as far away, right?
the first one is taken, but you're the only person in there. You take the first urinal,
Okay.
and then even if it's the shorty guy.
There's a shorty?
Oh yeah.
Why is there a shorty? Like for kids? Oh.
For kids.
For kids.
Okay.
But then you always leave a space between.
Okay.
It's like packed, in which case
You just go.
Yeah.
But you do not speak to people. No.
I had a boss at one job who would
Talk a little closer to the mic.
up right next to you, like, So, hey, how's it going today? And you're like, leave me alone, please. I'm your
Rub your back a little bit.
That's awful.
Buddy, how you doing?
Everything coming out okay? Yeah, looks good.
Doing
looks
all
good.
right there?
Oh, no.
There are urinals in old stadiums which just troughs.
Yeah.
Oh, you're all peeing in the same thing. Oh.
One big old basin.
I have.
No.
I've seen them, yeah.
I don't go, Ben, I don't know if you know this about me, but I don't tend to go into men's bathrooms at stadiums.
Well, you should have seen at least a trough at some point.
I have. I always use men's bathrooms. They're never crowded.
That's true.
And it's gonna just shatter your entire.
I don't really want to think about it. The urinal cake is bad enough. Don't call it a cake. It's not a
Not
cake.
cake. I don't want to eat
You
it.
associate cake with happy things like birthdays, not urinals.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on that.
Taylor likes the taste of urinal cake.
Oh my gosh. Wow. This
Is
this
this going
has
on
gone-
the B-roll?
this is
the
no,
B-roll?
this is the actual podcast. This is how we roll. This is what we do. We
Talk
don't
about
make
urinal
plans. We have a lot of bathroom conversations on here. I don't know why. It's speak easily, so I guess it's like
Yeah,
let's just talk
well,
about things that
let's
come
just-
naturally.
Well,
Oy.
or those uncomfortable things like death.
Like death. Oh, what a transition. So you go by Nikki the Death Doula.
Yes, I do.
Which is incredible.
Thank you.
It's the word doula, obviously, I didn't ever hear until kind of recent. I mean, I know it's been a thing for a long time, but
Yeah.
just with birthing,
Yeah.
that's sort of when it came into my perspective. But a doula is basically an assistant in the process,
Yes.
right? In the life process. And
If you want to know the history of the
yeah,
word.
tell me the doulistery, if you will.
No, just briefly, the word doula comes from the ancient Greek word doule, which basically means female maidservant. So, or female servant. So, doulas have been around for millennia.
Oh, forever.
For a lot of different things, not just birth, but most people
Yeah.
associate them with birth.
Mm-hmm.
But death doulas are just kind of modeled off that same principle of providing non-medical support.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just helping.
Yeah.
Being the human
Yes.
assistant, if you will.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
wow. So somebody approaches you, what are the typical approachings that you get? I'm not speaking well today. This is not a speak easily kind of day.
Apparently not. Like in just general public, somebody like, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can explain it pretty easily by just saying, like a birth doula, I provide non-medical support to the dying. But a lot of what I do is education, guidance, and just knowledge giving so that the dying and their families can make informed decisions about
Right.
what they want out of life. Because you don't know what you don't know.
True.
So,
And you don't think about it.
no, there are a lot of things you won't think about until it's too late or it's like right in your face. And if it's something like a terminal diagnosis or somebody has just passed away, you're grieving. You're going through a lot emotionally and spiritually, so you don't want to have to think about like, did I fill out this form correctly, or what forms do I need, or where do I need to go for this or that. So just having somebody else to kind of take that for you, so that you can just focus on
Grieving.
bereavement,
Yeah. Wow.
or being present if somebody's in the dying process.
So is it something that you recommend, like, when people receive a terminal illness, like that's the time to start?
Yeah.
That's the time to.
And honestly, like I can help people who aren't even sick. I work with people our age just putting advanced directive paperwork together or putting together a plan of what you want to happen, how you want your final I mean, we don't always get to choose, right? But
Bathrooms. Yeah.
yeah, bathroom accidents happen every day.
They do. I don't want to know the stats, though.
You're not wrong. But I mean, you can get hit by a bus tomorrow too. But especially things like medical power of attorney and living will. Like if you're over 18, put that crap together, because if you're in a comatose state, especially if you don't get along with your family and you don't want them making your medical decisions,
that's true.
you got to get that in writing.
It's things that we don't like to think about.
I know.
How did you get to doing this? I mean, this is not a typical
No.
course of action.
No, it's not. I mean, I've always been kind of a little weird and morbid. It's the theater in me, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But I've always also felt passionately about helping people, and
Yeah.
specifically working with the elderly. I worked in a nursing home for a long time when I was younger, and I really enjoyed my time there. And I had heard about death doulas maybe a decade or so ago. And I just kept thinking, that is so freaking cool. How amazing would that be? Like to do something like that. And it was just one of those, but not me. you know?
Yeah.
And then fast forward to COVID when we're all stuck at home and literally everybody's reevaluating their entire life. I hadn't been happy at my day job in a long time, like 4 or 5 years by that point, which is way too long.
That's a long time.
And way too long to be unhappy
Yep.
in everything. And I just thought, you know what? I'm 40. I'm in my mid 40s now, and like, call it your midlife crisis. I want to do something more meaningful with my life instead of, working on IT crap at a company that will not be named. Like, there are more fulfilling things I can do with my life. And I talked to the life coach, and she had me go through, like, what's meaningful to me, what's powerful to me, what am I passionate about? And this death doula thing kept coming back up. She's like, so just do that. And I just needed somebody to say it's okay to just do that for me to actually do it,
Okay.
So I signed up for training through the International End of Life Doula Association.
So there's a thing.
Oh, there's multiple different
Multiple,
trainings. Yeah.
okay.
There's no overarching, like, certification process. It's not like nursing. There's no certification board. But there are different organizations that do training for this.
Okay.
And I would recommend training.
Oh, yeah. This isn't something you just like,
No.
I think I'll do this today.
Well, a lot of people I've run into that do this work have worked in hospice for years. And they're like, I'm done with being a nurse. I don't want to do that part anymore.
Yeah.
I just want to do this part of the job. But there's still other things you have to learn.
Oh, yeah.
Other things.
It's a lot of medical
Yeah.
learning, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, even though you're not doing the medical side of it.
Oh, yeah.
but
We had a whole section on, like, what happens biologically when your body's shutting down.
Okay, so what happens biologically when you're I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you're working with if I'm working with a family and this is the first time they've witnessed somebody dying, it can be frightening. It can be unnerving, and especially if you don't know what to expect and you see something weird or something that might be a little icky, and you're like, "Oh my God, that's not normal. What's happening?"
Yeah.
Just to have that knowledge of no, that's going to happen. But it depends on what the disease is, how the person's dying.
So somebody like end stages of cancer.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So once you start entering into active dying, the person will be a little less responsive. They might still respond to touch. You might. One thing to look for is, like, if they're furrowing their brow or, like, shifting a lot, they're uncomfortable. That's nonverbal communication. We know that they need a little more help with pain management. But your digestive system is one of the first things to start to shut down, which is why a lot of people don't even voluntarily stop eating and drinking. They just stop because they can't anymore. Swallowing becomes difficult. So your body knows how to shut itself down, which is why we tell people don't interfere, don't try to feed people, don't try to give them water, let them do what they're going to do. And that'll start to shut down. Your pulse will start to slow down. And this can take days. This isn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a matter of hours. Sometimes it takes weeks.
Oh, jeez.
But your circulation will start to slow down, so you'll lose blood flow in your extremities first. You might see blue fingertips. Toes will turn different colors. You might see mottling, which is where blood pools a little bit, especially if they're in one position, which is why they try to rotate a little bit.
Yeah.
They'll try to sit you up so you're not pooling in the chest. Because they can suffocate that way. If this is too gross, let me know.
I'm not. No.
Okay.
I'm also a theater kid, so it's fascinating. I mean, it's sad. It hurts, but it's life.
It is. It's absolutely normal. And to me, I like explaining these to people. They're like, "Oh God, I don't want to see that. And I don't want to." I'm like,
Well, you don't want to, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually, there's a 1 out of 1 person will die. 100% mortality rate with these human people.
Funny how that works, but yeah, we're at 100% right now.
Yep.
Yeah, and breathing will slow, and then within the final hours, apnea will start, where there'll be long pauses in breathing, a little bit of gasping. You've heard of the death rattle. Everybody's heard of the death rattle. A lot of times that's just pooling in the lungs of either blood or fluid. So you'll hear that kind of gurgly sound. It's unnerving. It's hard to listen to.
But there's nothing
But there's nothing you can do about it. That's why they'll 9 times out of 10 have you in a hospital bed. Everybody says they want to die in their own bed. I get it. I would too.
Right.
But it's not feasible because medical staff has to get to you and everything. So they'll sit you up a little bit so it at least drains down. And then eventually your heart will just stop and your breathing stops.
Wow. It's rough to hear. But again, I think it's what you're doing is so good for people because we can't just do this,
Yeah.
And you're going to have to face it sooner or later.
Absolutely.
And it sucks. It's sad.
Does. And as a society, I know we've gotten used to other people dealing with this crap for us. We put people in nursing homes. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
We're not set up as a society to just have our parents at home with us. It's not feasible. at least not in Western cultures. Sometimes it is. Most times it's just not. So they're going to be somewhere else. So other people tend to deal with this. So it is a little easy for us to stick our fingers in our ears and say, I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah. Or somebody else can.
Yeah, or let somebody else do it. So, but I'm finding more and more people now want to be part of that process, which is beautiful to me. I would want to be with my mom in her final days, you know, or my father or my husband, anybody. I wouldn't want to leave that on somebody else. Like, even if they're in a facility or in a nursing home, I want to be present.
Yeah.
I
Well,
wanna
and
be
I
around
think
for
that would be good for the person dying too, to know, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
surrounded by loved ones. That's what you always want to hear.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's another place I can come in if they don't have any family left, or if they truly just don't have anybody. So they're not alone
Right.
with strangers coming in and moving tubes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. This is terribly sad. Do you have to deal with children often?
no, not yet. I have had one request for a child with brain cancer. I haven't come in to meet the family yet. Some friends have contacted me a few times just asking for advice on what to do. And there's no prognosis yet as far as when this child's end of life will come, but it is incurable. So, yeah.
That's a lot to swallow. For me, that would be the most difficult.
Yeah. I just had a conversation with somebody about that the other day. She's a pediatrician, and she's really helping me out with something. I was like, if I can ever be of service to you, she goes, I love you, but I never want to have to contact you.
That's true. Yeah.
And I'm like, fair enough.
You do have one of those careers that people would rather not have to deal with. But...
And she's mentioned having to treat kids who have had cancer or who have passed away.
Yeah.
And she's like, I hate it. I hate everything about it. That's why I want to make them better. I want to focus on them getting well.
Right.
I'm like, good. We need people like you in this world.
Degree,
but sometimes it's just not going to happen.
No. Man. When you were working in nursing homes, did you experience a lot of end of life and
a little?
There?
I was never present when anybody died. I think they tried to keep like lower staff away from that. I was a runner. I did a lot of like dropping stuff off. I went to the apartments to like give people meds, things like that. But I did do companion work where I just sat with people, especially those who had fall risks. I had to kind of sit there, and when they had to get up to go to the bathroom, I had to walk with them. But I had one lady who was starting, by the time I was getting ready to leave that job, she was entering active dying. And I was with her probably about 2 days before she passed.
What are certain things during that active dying process that you do or that's good for the family? Like what sort of things happen? Because that's, like you said, it can be a long process.
It can. Giving people breaks is huge. Especially if there's only one caretaker, a daughter or son, or maybe 2 or 3 people, to sit and watch somebody in that stage for 24/7 for maybe a week is too much. Nobody should do that. You have to take a break.
And it's the fear probably of like, if I step away.
That's when mom's going to go. And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
It happens. So many people tell me I was there, and the minute I went to get coffee, she died. A lot of times, subconsciously, that person waits until they're alone.
Interesting.
It's a weird instinct. Like animals do that.
They do.
Animals wander off in the desert to die by themselves.
Cats that usually go hide?
They'll go hide when they're ready to die. And there's something in our brains that are like, we don't want to expose other people to that. Whether it's an ancient instinct of passing disease on, which isn't really the case, but it's like we just want to wait till we're alone for that. I can't explain it. Maybe there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
But
do you feel like the person, even if they're comatose or can't really function per se toward the end of life, do you think they can still hear things?
Absolutely.
You've seen that happen.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, they'll get nonverbal communication sometimes. They might stop responding. Like sometimes they might not be speaking, and you come in and say, "Hey, Mom, it's me," and she might squeeze your hand a little bit, or like just move slightly, and they may stop. But I still firmly believe they can still hear you.
And you think the notion of when people say like it's okay to go or give permission to or step away, and you feel like that's a thing.
Absolutely.
Like, wow.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
And some people will continue to hang on.
Yeah.
There's somebody I'm working with right now whose grandmother is just refusing to go, and nobody can figure out why. Nobody can figure out why she's holding on so hard. We've brought everybody in. Everybody has said their goodbyes to her. Everybody has told her it's okay.
Still holding on.
She is still just fighting.
That's so hard.
I know. She's 105.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's a life lived.
No, right?
It's a long time.
Everybody's like, she's even to the point where she's like, I hate saying this, but I wish she would just die. I'm like, no, that's fair. She's suffering,
Yeah.
you know?
At a certain point. I mean, it's interesting. I read something about like, when an animal is ill and not going to be able to live life happily, we take care of that.
Yeah.
We calmly and respectfully let them go.
Yeah.
I wish we would do that for humans.
Well, you can in 10 states.
Interesting.
Yeah. 10 states.
Not Ohio.
Not Ohio. Of course not. Ohio's going to be the last.
Of course.
But no, 10 states in the District of Columbia, medical aid in dying is what it's called.
Okay.
We don't use the word assisted suicide.
Yeah,
It's not,
that's not it.
Not PC.
No?
But yeah, medical aid in dying is legal in 10 different states. I don't know if I could remember them all. Oregon, Washington, California, Colorado, Vermont.
These all track so far, yeah.
New York, Nevada. And there's 3 more.
Progressive states. Yeah, that makes
the progressive
sense.
states. So Ohio will be the last.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Absolutely.
Next to West Virginia. But in that process, like, do they, obviously there's probably a huge undergoing of
Oh, yeah.
talking through things. And
Oh, yeah. You have to have, there's a huge process you have to go through to have that. You have to still be of like sound mind and body. So unfortunately, this is not eligible for dementia patients, Alzheimer's, unless they are still mentally sound enough and their doctor has to clear it. Even then, most doctors won't because you're not physically frail enough at that point.
Right.
But you have to have, I think it depends on the state too, but most of them, it's 2 different doctors that confirm that there is no hope for cure, there is no more possible treatment, and that this person is at end of life. They have to sign off on it. You have to go through a psychological evaluation to make sure you're of sound mind. And then once it's approved, there's a wait period because, some people might change their mind. That actually happens so more often.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes the day will come. They'll show up with the medications and the person will say, I changed my mind. And that's okay. You're allowed. You're absolutely allowed. You may have to go through the process again. Sometimes they'll give you a grace period to wait a few more days if that's what you want. But they'll give you, and the other stipulation is you have to be able to ingest the medicine yourself.
Okay.
Nobody can give it to you. So if it's a case of like ALS, unfortunately, a lot of times those people can't swallow anymore. Yeah. So if they can physically hold a plunger to put it in an IV, they can, but most times they don't have the dexterity anymore. So it's very unfortunate that it's not a possibility for all disease. So
Golly.
I know.
It's rough.
I know. But it's at least we're getting there.
We're getting
right?
there. Yeah.
Baby steps.
Yes.
Baby steps.
Because that's, you think about your own mortality and what you want and what, like, I don't want to stick around.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not saying I'd like to go now.
Right.
Because I have to go to the bathroom and there we go back to the whole fear thing. But, it's like, I'm okay if it happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm not worried. I don't want to hang on, though. I don't want to hurt. I don't want.
Make sure you have a advance directive paperwork put together.
Yeah, explain that to me. So, I'm going to have to get in contact with you.
So you'll want to have your living will, basically. That's the form that says, I don't want to be kept in a persistent vegetative state, basically. So if you don't want that, make sure you have that filled out.
And that's something you said everybody over 18 should have that.
Absolutely.
And that's just as simple as contacting a lawyer or
you can
there's online documents.
You can get the documents online, fill them out for free. Once you do that, you have to have them notarized. I'm a notary, so you can come see me. I'll notarize them for you.
Okay.
And then just put them on file with your hospital, your doctor, any doctors you deal with. Make sure they have a copy of it. You can pay to have a lawyer look at it, but you don't.
For what?
You don't have
to. I mean, unless you've got
if there's
big
really
assets.
weird. There's a lot of weird specific stuff, but for most people like you and I, that's not really necessary.
Like I don't really care where my earrings end up. I really don't.
I don't either.
This one doesn't even have a backing. It's got a pencil eraser on the back.
I love it.
Which works.
I have a beat up old car in my house.
Yeah.
My husband can have those.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. I do tell my husband, like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I go because you're getting nothing out of me.
Same.
My earrings, you can have those.
To see with the pencil eraser.
With pencil eraser. And if it goes away, you can just replace it.
Ta-da!
Because you got my pencils in the inheritance as well.
That's awesome.
So, like a living will, and then what else do people have to think about?
And it depends on each individual. If somebody is recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia of any type, I would recommend a guardianship. Typically, a lot of these things aren't really necessary if you're married and you have a good relationship with your spouse, because they will be the one that medical staff will go to make your decisions. If you are still legally married to somebody else and you don't like them anymore, I would recommend getting divorced, but that's not my place to say that. No judgment.
Right.
But you might, if you're not married at all, or in the case of if you're in a domestic partnership, regardless of sexual preference, if you're just a domestic partner and you don't have that legal obligation to each other, you might want to fill out a guardianship paperwork so that they have guardianship over you, especially if you're a stranger to their family, which is an unfortunate thing I deal with LGBTQ plus community. If they are estranged from their family and they have a partner that they're not married to, there can be a lot of stickiness there, and their family could come in and make all sorts of terrible decisions for them.
So a guardianship is kind of the
guardianship is good. Then that person will be your legal guardian. Nobody else can take care of you but that person, unless they sign over guardianship to someone else. The living will is the persistent vegetative state form. That's the I can't make medical decisions on my own, and that's typically more of a if there is absolutely no chance of you regaining consciousness again. Whether or not to just keep you plugged into machines forever or unplug you.
And there have been cases of that.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a woman that was like years and years of that and just for no reason?
Yeah. I mean, there was one, I know of at least one, and there have been 2 or 3, I think, where somebody's been in a vegetative state for like 20 years and then they wake up one day. It has happened. So I think that's why there's so many people out there that are terrified to, quote unquote, pull the plug on their loved ones. They're like, what if they'd come back? And that's not my choice to make.
No.
That's up to the individual. But I would at least caution you to think, what are the odds of them coming back?
Right. And what are you waiting for?
Exactly. And if they do come back, what kind of shape are they going to be in? If they've been...
That's 20 years.
It's a long time. That's a lot of money.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
To have somebody...
Do you think that that's why a lot of times the hospitals want to continue even though, or is, I know that's probably a dicey question.
I know, I hate to get tinfoil hat, but sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say all hospitals are like that. They absolutely are not. But I have no doubt in my mind. Then this is another thing that I deal with people who are in cancer treatment currently, who might be seeking out me because they might need me one day, whatever. They just want some guidance. But their doctors are telling them, well, no, we can try this treatment and this treatment. And there's like 30 more treatments we can try. And me to step in and say, you can say no. You're allowed to say no.
Yeah.
Most people just blindly listen to their doctors, and that's fine. And doctors do want to make you better, but they also view death as a failure.
True.
So, and again, not all doctors.
Yeah.
There are plenty of doctors out there who would be more compassionate and tell you, we can try all these other treatments. They might prolong your life by another month, and it's going to be agonizing. Or we can start palliative care or hospice. You might be gone a month sooner, but it'll be easier on everybody.
What's the difference between palliative care and hospice?
So hospice is if you have a prognosis of 6 months or less and there's no more treatment available.
Okay.
Palliative care is if there's a diagnosis of a disease. It doesn't necessarily have to be terminal, but it could be life-ending.
Okay.
But there's no prognosis. It could be like ALS. Sometimes that can go on for many, many years. Dementia, things like that. They can start palliative care anytime, and it's comfort care. It just helps make everything a little bit easier.
So then when they're doing that with palliative care or hospice, then you are on the side of sort of caring for the person, less the medical.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of people say, well, why don't I just use hospice for what you do? It's like, the hospice doesn't do what I do.
They don't have time, really,
no, they
do
don't.
they?
They don't. And social workers have the same knowledge I do, most of the knowledge I do as far as options, but they also have 50 clients and they can spend 10 minutes with you once a week. Whereas I can come in and hang out with you for 3 or 4 hours a week or every other day if you need me to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the one to hold your hand and make sure your favorite candle is lit. Hospice might do that.
Yeah.
A lot of hospice nurses I know are amazing individuals, and they would do things like that. But they might not be able to be there 24/7.
Right.
Most times they're in and out 3-4 times a week, and that's it. And they're there for maybe an hour. So
what? I know there's no typical thing that you do, but how do you start the process? Somebody contacts you and says, our father is not going to make it much longer. They bring you in. What do you do? Like, what are the first things?
I'll sit down with the whole family together and figure out what everybody wants, like what our ideal situation is going to be. Also find out, has hospice started? Do we need to get that set up? If not, I will help educate them on how to pick the correct hospice they want. You shop around. I always tell people, shop
Interesting.
around. Yeah, it sounds weird. You're like, you just call. There's like 30 hospices in Columbus alone.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So that's
There's a
not
lot.
a medical thing. They're just like, here's your hospice care. You
There.
can
I
actually
mean, like
decide.
Ohio Health has hospice. I volunteer with them. Mount Carmel has hospice, but there are also individual hospice companies. Some are for profit, some are nonprofit. So I can help you with like, what questions should you ask to figure out which one's going to be right for you. And how, all that will work out. But so once I know if hospice is set up and they have some type of care plan that way, medical care plan, I'll talk to the dying person individually then later and say, like, what do you want? Who do you want here? Who do you not want here? Is your daughter a pain in your ass? Do you want me to kind of keep her out of the room as much as possible? Because sometimes they won't say that in front of their family.
Right.
They won't say, I'm tired of my daughter holding my hand all the time. I want to be left alone for a while. So I can step in and say, your mom loves you, but you need to give her a break.
Have you dealt with that?
Once or twice, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not as often as you would think. Most people are happy to just be together as much as they can. I've had one client who said, I don't want anybody in the room. I want to be completely alone.
Okay.
Fair enough. Sounds
It's
great.
their life. I mean,
Exactly. And you only get to die once. So let's do it the way you
which
want.
is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that those are the stats with that.
Yeah.
Too.
So I'll get the death plan, so to speak, together with the dying person as far as like, visitation. Do you want like the windows open? Do you want light? Do you want no light? All the little things that just make it peaceful for them. So when they are not responsive anymore, I make sure things are still going the way they prefer. If they're still, able to comprehend enough, I'll have them do a little life review with me. A lot of times people are scared.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Even if they know, like, I've been fighting cancer for 15 years, I'm done, I'm ready to go, but they're still scared. It's like, let's talk about what you're scared of. Let's find out why. Let's work on your anxiety a little bit. But I also want to make sure people die prepared. I don't want anybody to feel like I never got to do this one thing, or I have this brother I never spoke to. Like, let's write some letters, help them with any unfinished business they want to get done.
Yeah. Probably not like jumping out of an airplane.
No, the odds are probably it's not going to happen. It might. I don't know. But
that might be the end. But
yeah, just help them process their own grief of their own mortality.
Yeah.
And I work with the family a lot on grief support too.
Okay.
So you start grieving long before that person's gone.
Yeah.
Anticipatory grief. So
is it mostly people, because I'm trying to like reflect on my own, if that were to happen, are people mostly scared of being in pain?
Yeah.
Okay.
The biggest thing is scared of the pain, what happens after, because none of us know. So that's usually
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's like the number one thing is like, I don't know what's going to happen to me. And I always ask the question, well, what do you want? Not what do you think will happen?
Right.
What do you want to happen?
Right.
If you can envision, your brain stops, you close your eyes for the last time. What happens next? Tell me the perfect scenario. And I will just let them kind of go through what they think it is. And I remember it all. So when they're in that state and they're panicking, I might do a little like meditation or creative visualization to bring them back to that perfect spot. Be like, let's smell that ocean air. Because like, let's say their perfect spot is they're going to be in the ocean or on a beach with their families. Like, let's go back to that beach. Do you smell the ocean? Do you hear the waves? Do you hear the birds? Who's holding your hand, the warm sand? Just try to get them in that space as best I can.
Right.
That helps the anxiety so much.
Oh, I can imagine. Well, we should do that now. Where's your happy place now?
I know. Yeah.
Oh, is it hard? That's a lot.
Yes, it can be sometimes.
Yeah.
It depends on the client.
I'm sure you get to know people really well.
Yeah. Yeah. I had one client who she died earlier this year, and I knew of her. I didn't really know her personally when I started working with her, but I just loved her so much. She was such a dynamic person, and watching her die was hard, but watching her daughter watch her die was harder. So her daughter had a real hard time with it. And when she passed, I had to go out in my car and cry for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm a human being.
Right.
I'm going to have feelings too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely cried when she passed.
Yeah. I could not do what you do. That's
Most people say that. I bet you could if it was somebody you loved.
true. But to have, to learn a stranger and to see the
Yeah.
family. And that's a very intimate place for you to be in.
Very
their
much
lives.
so.
Yeah.
I'm always honored that anybody
yeah.
wants to have me in such an intimate space.
Mm-hmm. Like the most.
Yeah.
For a family.
Like that's the most, honestly, I feel like birth doulas must feel the same way because what an intimate moment there, like to have all the medical things going on, but bringing a whole new life into the world and to have a more or less a stranger be part of that is, wow, what an honor.
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally find birth very icky, but so is death,
So do I. I had 2 of them. So
I'm sorry.
It happened. They're still here. Is there any part of the job that's like the hardest part of it?
Dealing with a lot of the paperwork can be obnoxious.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind helping people with it, but getting the answers to all their like little questions about like, oh God, he had this bank account we had no idea and he's gone now. What the hell do I do about that?
Yeah.
And trying to guide them through the process of navigating. I'm not a lawyer either. So a lot of times I have to get to a point where I'm like, guys, I can't help you anymore. You're gonna have to call an attorney for
Oh,
this.
jeez.
But overall, like there are very few aspects of this job I don't like. I haven't yet encountered serious conflict. I know it happens. You'll have that one family member that's like, I don't want hospice. I don't want them to have any help. They're fine. They don't need anything because they're refusing to admit their person is dying. I haven't personally experienced that, but I've heard awful horror stories of other doulas who have.
I feel like though, if people are contacting you, that they care enough.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is an extra step.
Yeah.
On top of hospice, people probably don't know about it.
It's one more thing.
How do you know other doulas in town? Like
I do.
Is it how many people do this?
So in Columbus, I know of 4 fully practicing doulas like myself. There might be a couple more that I don't know about. But there are other people I know of that live here that have been through the training.
Okay.
A lot of people go through the training because they have a parent that's older or a spouse even that might have just been diagnosed with something, and they just want to have more skills to help work through that. A lot of hospice nurses go through this training too, just to learn what else they can do to kind of help the family. But yeah, as far as I know, like fully practicing, there's only like 3 or 4 of us here.
It's just not something you hear about.
No.
You hear about birthing doulas and all the time.
And that's kind of a struggle point for me right now because I'd like to get more clients.
You're like, hi, you go through this too.
Yeah, I tried it. I have my podcast, so I get that information out there too. But I try to do speaking engagements. I try to go places where I can inform, like senior centers, nursing homes, to inform people that this is something that exists. You can have this extra help.
And you think it's probably because people just don't want to deal with it.
Correct.
I would assume.
Yeah.
Because it's not something I want to think
right.
about.
Well, and like I speak to people our age, and I'm like, yeah, I do this. They're like, that's neat. I don't need you. Do you though?
Do you? We're going back to that mortality rate with humans.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just a matter of having somebody like remind you, hey, you're going to die one day. And you might want to have some stuff planned out ahead of time.
Right.
But also like we're in that awful spot of the sandwich generation.
Yep.
We've got dying parents and kids, possibly grandkids.
Yep.
That's a lot to take on. That is a lot to take on.
And I think, like the 40s, that's when you start like, oh.
Yeah.
Over the hill. Okay,
cool.
I know, right? That's all right. I'm with you. But,
yeah.
Do we start to think about, oh, this is the time that our parents are dying. And we see friends' parents dying. And
Yep. Yeah. Just in the past, 4 years, I can't count how many people I've known their parents have passed away. Mine are still with me, thank God. Yep. But my dad's having some health issues and just little things that come up. And it just reminds you, they're not going to live forever.
They're not. And it's hard.
It is.
And we don't want to deal with it, but it's real. And it's so interesting timing. So I do a Parkinson's play, a play about Parkinson's with my friend Matthew. And just a lot of the premise of the play is knowing the person as a whole.
Yeah.
And knowing how to navigate the entire patient. And a lot of what we love to do is get this in front of medical professionals, of course, saying to them, this is a whole person.
Yeah.
It's not just the diagnosis. It's not just this treatment. It's not just this therapy that we're working on.
Yeah.
It's a person. And they have emotions and fears. And
I'm assuming you've seen the play or read the script for Wit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
That's a hard one because, man, that poor woman is treated like an object for that whole show. And that's a big thing that bothers me.
Mhm.
Like, they're more than just their cancer. They're a
Right.
human.
Mhm.
They had kids, siblings, a whole life, a job, you know?
It's not, and they're still a person.
They are still a
At the
person.
end of the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Where do you want to go with this? I mean, just to continue and
Yeah, I love what I do. And at some point, I would like to get, like, this is years down the road, but I know more and more people are going through these trainings and are passionate about doing this. I'd love to have a collective together of doulas that we can, tag team around.
oh yeah.
and be with these. I would love to, at some point, if I could, have a nonprofit so I can work in nursing homes and provide this type of service pro bono.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to do this for free, but I have a mortgage.
Right.
I
right.
like
Yeah,
eating
fair.
food
Fair.
and having electricity. I
Those-
know it sounds greedy of me, but
I know. So greedy.
so awful.
Oh my gosh. You need the lights on?
I know I'm the
What?
worst, legit the worst. But if I could have this, paid back to Medicare or
Yeah.
Medicaid.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a double-edged sword,
Right.
because if it's a new regulated industry, then that could really tie my hands on what I can and can't do.
Do you feel like it's growing?
I think so.
Okay.
Not as quickly as I feel like it should, but I feel like it's growing. But honestly, like, we can't grow too fast, because if we have 30 doulas in Columbus and like 6 people a year that want to hire one,
Yeah, that's true.
we're at that point now where we just need to get more awareness out there, which is why I love doing stuff like this,
Yeah,
your
no,
podcast, so
absolutely.
we can get people to know that we exist, who we are, and what it is we do.
Yeah. Because it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
It's a sad thing,
It is a very sad thing.
but
let you handle the sad part, and I will handle all the crappy part.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Because I don't want to think about wills and
No, nobody does.
paperwork. and
No.
what's in the
Right. And
what's
like,
in it for me.
my husband joked with me when I was trying to explain to him too what all it is I do. He's like, "Oh, you're a stage manager." It's not that.
That's not that far off.
It's not far off, because we're theater background. I'm a stage manager for death. So
That's a really good way to put it.
yeah.
That makes so much sense.
So for theater people like us, it makes a little more
Yes.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will stand there with my clipboard and make sure these people aren't coming in the room and that people are taking their shoes off.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever needs to be done. Yeah.
Thank you, Five.
Thank you, Five.
Giving breaks.
Giving breaks.
Uh-huh.
And then once the person has passed, I obviously respect the family and let them spend as much time as they want. But I can place the call to the funeral home to come pick up the body.
Oh, wow.
I can start the phone, because I just was telling somebody the other day, I'm like, let me know when grandma passes. Give me a list of phone numbers so I can do that. Because nothing is worse than when somebody close to you has just died and you have to repeat that over and over and over again to how many different people on the phone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When my brother passed away in 2015, and every time I had to tell somebody, I would just immediately start crying, and I'd have to rehash his death over, and I got so tired of it.
That's a lot.
And it's like, people have the right to know what happened, but at the same time, it's just like, I can't keep talking about this. It's hard. So let us do that.
Right.
And
then different people grieve in different ways, and somebody might take it really, really hard.
Yeah.
And then you have to deal with that.
Yes,
on top
and then
of it.
you're taking their grief.
Yeah.
Their grief,
Like,
and
oh
it's just like,
gosh, I
if you've
can't
got
heal you.
If you have that one aunt that's going to lose her crap when her sister dies and is going to scream and cry for 20 minutes on the phone, let me take that phone call so you don't have to. I'll listen
are hard,
to her.
Those are hard phone calls.
They are.
I mean, you've got to probably, like, every career that has some sort of challenge with this sort of thing. I'm sure you have to step back a little bit and not numb, but personally step out of things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I can kind of like shut that part of me down for a minute if I need to.
Man.
I do bereavement calls for hospice that I volunteer for. So it's just calling people like a month or so after their person has passed away, just to make sure they're okay and see if they need any extra support or want information on the support groups. But I will sometimes get somebody that will talk to me for like 45 minutes, and they're crying. They're not like, losing it, but they're crying, they're upset, and they want to tell me all about that person's whole life. And I'm like, I took this on. I volunteered to do this.
Yeah. But I'm sure that you hear so many cool stories too.
Oh, I do.
Which is fascinating. And
I
again,
do.
that intimate part of somebody. I mean, what's one of the coolest stories you've ever heard from somebody?
Oh, man. So I spoke to this woman a few weeks ago who, I think it was her mom that had passed away. And I was like, hey, I just wanted to check in, see how you're doing today. And she's like, well, you picked the wrong day to call. And I was like, oh, no. But then she started talking to me. She felt better. But she had lost like 4 people within a period of a week.
Oh, geez.
It's like her mom, her husband's sister, like a cousin. Like, I can't remember everything. But then she started talking about her mom. And her mom was like 102 when she died. This woman was very old.
Wow.
And she was talking all about her mom. She's like, oh, she went through this and told me her mom's entire life story.
Aw.
And it was really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't mind.
No, but you get to be a part of something that
Yeah.
maybe nobody else will.
Yeah.
And also that you are separate from everything.
Yeah.
So that
Some people, it's a little easier to open up to a total stranger sometimes because,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to talk to my mom about my feelings all the time.
I don't either.
I don't mind, but it's
Yeah.
like, if I'm feeling something weird about something my parents, with my
Yeah.
parents, I don't want
Yeah.
to talk to them about it. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's easier to just tell somebody you barely know.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What do you deal with mostly older folks then, or have you
Yeah.
dealt with all ages?
I would say mostly older, but I mean, the last few clients I've had have been like barely 60. It's cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer gets you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How can people find you? You have a podcast.
I
Tell me
do.
about your podcast.
My podcast is called Good Grief with Nikki the Death Doula.
Okay.
It's mostly more focused on grief and bereavement. So I talk about all the different types of grief and grieving because that's another stigmatized subject. I could do a whole other thing on just grief. We
On
don't.
the get over it statement.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah.
Because grief isn't linear and it's messy, and that's okay.
It is something we don't want to deal with.
It is. It very much is.
I don't like grieving.
Nobody likes to grieve, and nobody wants to talk about it. And when somebody else is grieving, like if you just lost your spouse, and then I was listening to you talk about it. If you talked about day after day after day, sometimes it gets hard for people, and then we don't want to talk about it 'cause we're like, I'm burdening them talking
Yeah.
about my husband every other day. I don't care. You can talk to me all day long.
Yeah.
That's what I do. But, some people just feel like they're burdening those around them with their grief. And maybe they are, maybe they're not, but who cares?
Right.
It's your grief. You're
Because it comes and goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're perfectly allowed to have whatever feelings you want.
Right.
So I go into all that with my podcast, which is on Spotify, Apple, all the things. Not Stitcher. Stitcher's gone. I don't know if you heard.
I don't know, Stitcher.
Stitcher went away. It's another podcast platform. It went away.
Huh. I don't. Again, I don't do the tech. As you well have seen now, I don't do any of the tech on this.
I do everything. I'm a one-woman show.
You're
so.
a stage manager.
I'm a stage manager.
Were you a stage manager in your?
I had done it a few times. I like directing much better.
Yeah.
I
don't
like
think
telling
I
people
could-
what to do.
I could not stage manage.
I've done it a little, but it's chaotic.
It's a lot of details.
It is a lot of.
And you're on. You have to be on all the time. I'm watching our amazing stage manager at the opera, and she's just like
Oh God, I could.
laser focus with all those moving pieces and parts.
Oh, no.
and all the music that's in,
No.
French.
No.
Stage managers,
No,
we
thanks.
love you.
Yeah. Seriously.
Great, amazing humans.
You are children of God.
They really are. So you have your podcast.
Yeah.
How else can people find you? You have an amazing website.
Oh, thank
by the
you.
way. It looks
Yeah,
really-
NikkiTheDeathDoula.com. And my name is Nikki.
Yes.
So I know there's 20 different ways to spell
That's true.
Nikki. So I always specify that.
NYCK.
And
Silent Q.
silent
Yeah.
Q and an M.
Uh-huh.
Why an M? I don't know. Yeah, it's NikkiTheDeathDoula.com. And there's my podcast is linked on there too, and all my
Okay.
socials and everything.
That's so cool. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
I recommend
too.
you to. Yeah. But you're doing it out of passion too.
Yeah.
I mean, you are not hospice. You're not doing a job because that's what you're
Paid
needing
to do.
Yeah. This is a choice, and this is
Absolutely. I'm doing this because I love it.
such a beautiful but hard thing. And
Absolutely.
I think you're right there. Like take the stigma out of grief and
Absolutely.
out of bereavement.
Take the stigma out and take some of the sting out of it too,
because you're going to go through it.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's going to go through
Oh yeah. I've been through it and I know how awful it was.
it. Mm-hmm.
So knowing that there could be somebody out there that can help hold my hand through the process,
Oh, that's so cool.
is amazing.
Oh,
Feel better?
I do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad I can help.
No, you do help, and I love that. I love it. Keep doing what you're doing. And thanks for chilling with us.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
also helping me with my bathroom fears.
You're welcome.
Let's start working on that.
Okay.
I maybe won't lock the front door.
I was gonna say maybe just like leave the door like half unlocked.
But if
Work
I
at
do
baby
that,
steps.
baby steps. If I do it at home, the dog will nudge the door and
That's
just come
true.
right on in. So, but now we're back at the animal.
My
in the
cat
bathroom.
tries to sit in my lap when I poop. So
Are you serious?
yeah. I'll try to jump up. I'm like, no, that's a lie.
Your cat may be needing somebody to talk to.
I think my cat's got some issues.
I would agree. Nikki, thank you.
You're welcome.